Okay, so we got some things to cover tonight. I'm gonna cover them all at once. Start off with one thing. If you went to BronyCon and you put @BronyCon in your Twitter name, and it's still there, take it out, okay? BronyCon ended 3 days ago. If you still have it in there, take it out. You're no longer there, okay? On a semi-related note, I remember I saw Kichi FIM do this. I told her over Twitter, and she blocked me. And then took @BronyCon out of her Twitter name, so... yeah. That's one of the top 3 trolls in Limbo, people. Somebody who, when I told them BronyCon was over, so they shouldn't have @BronyCon in their Twitter name anymore, blocked me on Twitter. Also, the Pastel Pros, why did you call the first of your 4 BronyCon vlogs BronyCon pregame? Wouldn't BronyCon vlogs part 1 of 4 be better? Because I watched some of the vlog, you're clearly at BronyCon during parts of the vlog. For that matter, you say it's gonna take a while, which I guess makes sense, but, like, you can just take any sort of USB, put it on your computer, take any sort of editing software, combine clips together, and then upload it. That should take you, like, less than 2 hours. I've done it before on Ephrom Media. Unless you actively walked around with the camera on the entire time, in which case, that's just idiotic. Plus, I'll give her that I don't have much experience filming outside. I do tend to only film stuff in this small little room. But am I the only one who thought her camera looked like it was from 2006? I mean, it looks pretty much the exact same as a documentary I saw Edere film in 2008. I mean, say what you will about this camera, at least you can tell it's from this decade. I probably shouldn't be saying that when there's light on like 1/4 of my face. Is this better? No, it isn't. I would have been amazed if that actually turned out better, but now I just look like a 2D picture. I am the face of your nightmares. So the moral of the story is I should probably stop talking about camera quality for a while. But anyway, and if you're going to say it takes a while because you lost a lot of money going to BronyCon, then you probably shouldn't have gone to BronyCon. Just saying. Anyway, towards our last BronyCon related thing. Dear FNGR, a vlog about your BronyCon experience does not count as a How Not to Brony episode. It's a shame, too, because I actually do, to some extent, like How Not to Brony. I wanted to see a new episode. I got a vlog about your experience at BronyCon. Like, you could have just called it BronyCon Vlog or something like that. But you specifically called it How Not to Brony because, well, you know that's the only series you do that gets any views. This is also like the second episode in a row where there's no real How Not to Brony part of How Not to Brony. Because it was just you talking about BronyCon. Again, you could have just made that separate videos and said, no, How Not to Brony that week, but you couldn't have done that now, could you? Actually, you could have. In fact, you should have. And if we count episodes where a good amount of it was on something that wasn't Brony-related, like, say, Sargon of Akkad or the commentary community, or a lot of it was spent on a Skype call you were in, then you've got yourself about 40 episodes of How Not to Brony that aren't even really How Not to Brony episodes. Also, while I didn't watch the full How Not to Brony episode, I made it far enough to know it was just going to be a blog. One thing I noticed, by the way, is he started every single recording by going, "This is FNGR," as if we forgot who we're watching it on. I like to think that there was someone, like, beside him every time he just hit record, asking who he was, and he just responded, "This is FNGR." Maybe FNGR just got one of the voices that was previously in Event Horizon's head. Who knows? God, that's an old callback. Also, dear anyone who was at KP's panel, please upload that if you have it. Like, seriously, I just read some quotes from people who were there. I need to know all of that. It sounded just amazing. Let me read you some quotes from it that Event Horizon sent out. Vectors cannot be pixelized. My crew does this for experience, and my personal favorite, 24 FPS is about 5 to 10 frames per second. I love this so much. Also, speaking of Event Horizon, he called this the worst con he's ever seen. It's gonna be fun, they said. You're going to miss out on something, they said. Well, like one person said that to me. But, oh, you're missing out on something, they said. Then, like, 3 days later, Event Horizon's like, this sucks! I find that way too amusing. Also, if Corp goes next year and no one calls him Joe Don Baker, I have failed as a human being. Also, I'm just going to link Corp's Twitter in the description because it's actually pretty funny stuff. Corp, you get the Ephrom seal of approval. Now, granted, that's pretty much less than worthless, but you still got it. I spent much longer on this than I intended. Let's get on to some other things. Finally, after 6.5 minutes. Also, E4B updated their About in the Mods page to add Saturn Star, aka Space Mare, as they call her. Okay? I'm just gonna read it. This spunky, that's a term no one's used since, what, 1995? And free-spirited mod works just as hard as the others, and is more than willing to share her art with the loyal following of the Boys Gathered. Okay, that's kind of a basic description, but eh. I don't know, but is it just me? Or do the first, like, 5 words sound like something you'd hear on a dating profile? Just username spunky and free-spirited. I don't know, am I the one who got that vibe? Probably. Now let's talk about the newest batch of what controversy did Lily Pete get into this week. And this time it was, there was something there. Basically, Lily Pete's mom referred to Lily Pete as male on Twitter, and Lily Pete was against that. So her and Lizzie complained about that for a while. Then they found a tweet from Lily Pete's mom saying that free expression is important, and Lily was like, well, free expression also applies to criticism, which is correct. It's out of nowhere, but it's correct. It's like if someone said 0 plus 0 is 0, and then you just come along and say, well, no matter how many zeros you add, it's still 0. That's correct, but it just comes out of nowhere. Then it just turned into a bunch of violent threats that it just became a bunch of people threatening each other with violence, and it was out of nowhere and very incomprehensible. It was basically just white noise throughout most of the conversation, and genuinely it was kind of hard to follow along. I mean, there was a lot of talking or tweeting in this case, but no one was really saying anything. You know, it was just, oh, screw you. Oh, screw you too. You know? Finally, in our last piece tonight, Dear Joshua Colvinghouse, look, you can try and weasel your way out of it all you want, but the fact is, Glass of Orange Juice is either a direct ripoff or so similar to Glass of Water, there's no real point even thinking about the differences. he did comment on my video on this, saying he wants to do it better, and how Lily Pete treats her opinions like fact. And, you know, he talks about how the Obscurian, he actually says the Obscurian, not Obscurian, the Obscurian, Obscurian, you're getting famous, is hurting him, or is wrong, and how Lily Pete has an inferiority complex. I think he means superiority complex, but, you know. Then Obscurian told him he was wrong, and Joshua accused Obscurian of having an inferiority complex, while knowing what it meant this time, because he said, his exact words were, Lily doesn't have an inferiority complex, you do. So you were told what the words mean, and you still don't know what they mean. Also, he talks about how Lily doesn't respect him because, you know, maybe it has something to do with those loads of really bad commentaries you did on Josh Scorcher. Like, regardless of your opinion on Josh Scorcher, and we here at Ephrom, Josine, and by that I mean me, don't particularly like the guy, Joshua's commentaries on him are awful. Okay? Anyway, that's it. I just wanted to cover a bunch of things at once. I'm Ephrom, and good night.